Where am I? Oh my god. Hello? Where am I? This is very frustrating. You can't see me. I don't know what's going on. This computer crashed just before I was getting started, so I am not visible for some reason, which is really weird. Let's try it one more time. I don't know what's happening. Anyways, I'm Skip Elsheimer of the AV Geeks, and we watch old 16mm films. And there was a tension issue with the film that I just got, which was donated by Bucky Grimm. Thank you, Bucky. Bucky has contributed some films to us in the past, and he's a longtime academic friend. I kind of met him because he did a paper about one of my films that he had found on the Internet Archive. So we have continued talking and stuff. This is a bummer. I'll try to figure this out. But in the meantime, here's Chemistry in a Changing World.
For centuries, men have tried to combine known substances to make new substances. The alchemist hoped to make gold from baser metals. Later, when magic incantations gave way to a genuine scientific method, man learned to create new substances from known ones, which were far more valuable than gold. The marvels of chemistry today are far beyond the dreams of the alchemist of the past. Today, through the science of chemistry, man can make sugar from sawdust, cheese from peanuts, hosiery from coal, or plastics from soybeans. No matter where we live or what we do, every day, some phase of chemistry affects each one of us directly. The purity of our drinking water is assured by chemical analysis. The pharmacist who fills our prescriptions is applying chemical principles. Chemistry has given us better soaps, better paints, better petroleum products, synthetic rubber, plastics, motion picture film, nylon, explosives, and 100 other things we use in our everyday life. Discovering and bringing to the world the wonders of chemistry requires teamwork among many types of chemists, all with different jobs and in different departments of a company. This teamwork can best be observed in the development of a widely used chemical product. Here, a chemical company is planning to manufacture elemental phosphorus. The management asks the research department to develop a process that is commercially practical. Research is usually conducted by a group of several men who work under the supervision of a leader. After explaining the problems involved in making phosphoric acid from phosphate rock, the project leader makes specific assignments. Two of the assistants are instructed to read all available literature related to the subject. Reading technical literature which deals with similar experiments conducted by others in the past is an important part of research. Another member of the research team will start on analytical methods. Often it takes many months, Even years of very careful work with numerous failures until the group finally develops a practical process in the laboratory. Here, during the pre-pilot stage, chemists work out a practical method of obtaining the concentrated phosphoric acid. At this point, the idea is taken over by the plant development department. Its job is to devise methods for commercial production. At this stage, a research chemical engineer builds a pilot plant, a miniature which duplicates the parts and materials to be used in the final plant. While operating a pilot plant, the specialists face production problems on the spot and solve them before the commercial production starts. Next, the design chemical engineer takes over and starts plans for the building of the actual commercial plant. He must choose a location with due consideration to the proximity of power, the availability of raw materials, and the conditions for economical distribution. Once a location is decided upon, the design chemical engineer prepares a flow sheet showing how materials will pass through the plant. Next, a flow sheet of machinery to handle the raw materials. And then an architectural blueprint of the plant. Once the plant is built and in operation, the chemical engineer remains in charge until the personnel becomes experienced enough to operate it themselves. With production started, there is need for another kind of chemist, the analytical chemist. It is the job of the standards department and its analytical chemists to maintain a constant vigilance over materials and products in every stage of production to make sure that proper quality is maintained. Part of their job is analyzing representative samples taken at key production points. The first control of the standards department is evident in the selection of raw materials. Here, phosphate rock is mined and hauled to the plant. Then it is washed and graded according to size. Next, the phosphate matrix is weighed and mixed with coke and sand. Then the mixture goes through a sintering machine, which ignites it, fusing the mixture into larger particles. These are broken up and screened for size. After coke is added, the mixture goes to a giant furnace, where electrodes heat it to a very high temperature. The heat causes the phosphorus vapor to pass off continuously. These vapors are condensed and led to storage tanks. From the storage tanks, the elemental phosphorus is loaded into tank cars that go to other factories. At these factories, the elemental phosphorus is converted into a series of phosphate compounds. The phosphates are used as fertilizers. In refining sugar, in detergents, and in dentifrices and other uses. Meanwhile, in the research laboratory of the phosphorus plant, chemists have devised uses for byproducts of the process. At regular intervals, the residue from the furnace is removed. Part of this residue, calcium silicate, is used as a roadbed material. It is run off into a pool where it solidifies and cracks up. Another byproduct, ferrophosphorus, is run into molds and cooled. It is used to improve the properties of steel. The story of the production of elemental phosphorus is an example of only one of a great number of industries in which chemicals play a vital part. Through the constant work of chemists, more and more of the Earth's raw materials are transformed into useful products. Products that fill needs, raise our living standard, and change our pattern of life. As for the future, it is almost beyond the imagination to conceive what other wonders will be unveiled as the advancing strides of chemistry meet the needs of a changing world.
Here I am. Oh boy. Technology, man. I guess the more stuff you have, the more likely things will go wrong. And more likely things will go wrong at the same time. Oh, look. This is what I just got. Maybe that's what was causing the problem. I don't know. All right, let's see. Let's look at erosion and weathering. Did we watch this one? Did we watch? Look, I'm gonna look and see if we watched this one. I don't see it in the list, but yeah, I'm gonna skip ahead. All right. This one we definitely haven't seen. This is Captain John Smith, founder of Virginia. Enjoy.
John Smith, sometime governor of Virginia, was born in Lincolnshire, England, in the year 1579. The son of a well-to-do tenant farmer, he attended the free school in the nearby village of Aldworth. But the Latin lessons, inherited from a dark past, must have seemed unbearably dull. For we know by his own account that at the age of 13,
he sold his satchel, books, and all he had, intending secretly to get to sea.
Secretly to get to sea. This was the dream of many an English yeoman's son. The age of colonization was dawning. France had vast claims in the New World. Canada, the Great Lakes country, the Mississippi Valley. Spain was exploiting the incredible wealth of Peru and Mexico. But England had little to show for her efforts in the New World. Although many an expedition had dropped down the Thames from London, in 1603, 15 years after the defeat of the Spanish Armada, there was still no permanent English colony in America. But in spite of failures, England's colonial fever had in no wise abated, and London was at the very center of the latest scheme, to plant a colony in Virginia. To London in 1603 came John Smith, now Captain John Smith.
And cheerfully at sea, success you still entice to get the pearl and gold. The pearl and gold! Gentlemen, untold riches lie before us.
And untold hard work, I warrant.
That none of us doubt, Captain Newport. But rest content on this score. We have able men, you, our mariner, to transport us to fruitful Virginia. Master Gosnold here, whose dream it was to plant this colony. And, if I may say so myself, gentlemen, I have no little experience as an administrator.
Hear, hear.
Ah, and we have, gentlemen, our redoubtable soldier, Captain John Smith. Though young, very young in years, has already covered himself with glory fighting the infidel Turk. I believe you know everyone here, Captain Smith?
Captain Newport, how are you, sir? Master Gosnell. But I do not know this gentleman.
This is Master Gabriel Archer, a worthy gentleman who has just joined our ranks.
I see. And I suppose you've told Master Archer of the other worthy gentlemen in our ranks? The wastrels, the soft-handed, superfluous sons of small squires and the like.
You consider them unfit for this undertaking, Captain?
Many of them.
I suppose you consider a lawyer unfit, Captain. Myself, for example.
I trust that you are fit, Master Archer. For there will be no taverns where we are going, and no friendly innkeepers. And a savage arrow can kill just as readily as any musket ball.
Here, here, Captain. But come away with this melancholia. Gentlemen, a toast. Ours to hold, Earth's only paradise, Virginia.
Virginia. Virginia.
Gentlemen, I know not how to address you on this momentous occasion. Tomorrow, you set all sail for the New World. Would that I were going with you, but unfortunately, some must stay behind to care for matters in this quarter. So be it. You know well your purposes in this venture. I need not rehearse them now. However, two there are which you must not slight in your brave efforts to establish the plantation and to seek treasure. They be these. Firstly, to search for the lost colonists sent out by Sir Walter Raleigh. More than 100 English souls who disappeared into that wilderness, leaving not a wreck behind. And secondly, to search out that elusive passage to the Indies. This above all, to search out the Northwest Passage. And lastly, have I covered all matters?
The box, my lord.
Oh, yes, of course, the box. This box, gentlemen, contains the names of the 8 men we have selected to be the ruling members of the colony. This box, gentlemen, this box is not to be opened until Virginia is reached.
It is not a work for everyone to plant a colony, but there is a great difference between saying and doing.
Thus wrote John Smith sometime later. But he must have voiced equally unpopular opinions early in the voyage. For it is certain that from the day of sailing, he made many enemies. Enemies who, as the expedition left the Canary Islands for the West Indies, plotted not only to deprive him of his reputation, but of his life.
Inasmuch as by his devious plottings and intrigues, he hath intended from the first to usurp the government, murder the leaders of the expedition, and make himself king of the New World. Sentence hath been duly passed upon Captain John Smith, that he shall be hanged by the neck until dead. Has the prisoner anything to say before this sentence is carried out?
The prisoner must have had much to say indeed, but history has left us only Smith's very brief account of the incident.
Here, on the island of Nevis, a pair of gallows was made, but Captain Smith, for whom they were intended, could not be persuaded to use them.
Land ho!
April 26, 1607. The coast of Virginia was sighted.
Gentlemen, the members of the council, Master Edward Maria Wingfield, Captain Bartholomew Gosnold, Captain John Ratcliffe, Master George Kendall, Captain John Martin, and Captain John Smith.
May 13, 1607. A site for the colony was selected, 40 miles up the James River estuary and called Jamestown. Soon thereafter, crude shelters were thrown up. But the council president had strict orders against building fortifications.
Remember, men, there shall be no exercise at arms, nor any fortifications built. We must not offend the savages by shows of hostility.
Yes, Master Wingfield.
The 6th of August, 1607, died George Flower of a wound given by the savages. The 9th day, there died John Asby of the bloody flicks. Our men are being destroyed with cruel diseases of swellings, flixes, burning fevers, and by wars. But for the most part, they're dying of mere famine.
The R's, mister. What is the meaning of this, Captain Smith?
The meaning is quite clear to me, President Wingfield.
These provisions came from my private store.
Others who brought private provisions from England have long since turned them over to the common storehouse.
That does not concern me.
Very well, Master Wingfield. From this moment forward, you're relieved of such vexations.
What mean you by that, Captain Smith?
I mean, Master Archer, that by unanimous vote of the Council, we have deposed Master Wingfield as President.
You cannot do that to me.
I think we can. And what is more, when the Susan Constant arrives from England, we mean to send you back.
Captain Smith,
For months you refused to allow fortifications. We paid dearly for your follies.
I was under orders from the Council in London.
The Council in London knows nothing of our problems in Virginia. You wasted our energies in searching for gold and pearls.
I had my orders.
You should never have followed those orders. By doing so, you so reduced this colony that those of us still left alive are scarce able to bury the dead.
Very well, I agree. I think we should abandon this colonizing attempt.
Abandon? No, Master Wingfield. Jamestown shall not be abandoned.
Now, Captain Smith, in that desperate extremity, went to search the country for trade, for nothing could persuade him to starve, either himself or his men.
Smith seldom returned empty-handed from his many trading expeditions. And even his worst enemies agreed that the corn which he brought back saved the colonists from starvation. With the storehouses at Jamestown now well stocked, Smith set the colonists to work. For he was determined that each man in the colony must abide by one law.
He that will not work shall not eat. The winter departed and spring come, Smith left the fort to perform his discovery.
Smith and his companions made many discoveries in unknown Virginia. And though he was never to find that elusive passage to the Indies, he was to travel thousands of miles, carefully mapping the surrounding territories. But on one of these expeditions, traveling inland for some considerable distance with only his Indian guide,
And so, having been ready with their clubs to beat out his brains, Pocahontas, the king's dearest daughter, got his head in her arms and laid her own upon his to save him from death. Now in Jamestown they were all in combustion. Some, no better than they should be, had plotted against him.
Plots had gone forward against Smith in his absence, but upon his return, he took swift action against the chief plotter, his old enemy, Gabriel Archer, and
laid him by the heels till he sent him prisoner for England.
But the same ship which was to take Archer back had brought impossible orders from the council in London.
Come in.
Captain Newport, I've prepared my answer for the fine gentlemen of the London Company. You can tell them that I'll carry out their fantastical orders to find gold, to find Raleigh's lost colonists, to make pitch and tar and glass and soap. Tell them I'll carry these out once I've made this colony self-supporting. And to do that I need workmen, carpenters, masons, farmers, diggers up of trees, honest workmen, not lazy gentlemen and wastrels.
The reply from the London Company was not long in reaching Virginia. Fair winds had borne the Susan Constant back, and with it the council's reply to Smith's rude answer.
Captain Smith.
Archer.
My dear Captain Smith, it seems it has fallen to my lot to inform you that you are deposed. It seems the London Company has, at long last, been reorganized. My Lord Delaware is on his way at this very moment with 9 ships, 500 colonists, and you, Captain Smith, are hereby deposed.
You have letters to this effect?
Letters will arrive with my Lord Delaware.
Then we shall await my Lord Delaware. There are some 30 old colonists left alive, Master Archer, and they've been through much. Burning fevers and starvation, the terror of Indian attacks and the deaths of their dearest friends. They're afraid of nothing, and they're behind me to a man. And until Delaware arrives with official orders, I am still president of this colony. And if you try any of your scandalous tricks, I'll have you hanged by the heels, just as you once tried to hang me by the neck. But mark me well, Archer. I will not fail.
But soon thereafter, returning from an expedition up the James River to discover a new site for the colony, Smith was grievously wounded by a gunpowder explosion.
Did Archer see us? Yes, Captain. He's out there now with his jackals. Let's hang him now and get it over with. No! He's command. Delaware will arrive soon. He'll take command. And I must go back to England. England? I need a surgeon now to mend this excavation or I'm done for. My work is finished now in Virginia.
And so, in October of 1609, after more than 2 years in the Virginia wilderness, Captain John Smith returned to England. But his work had counted. He had explored and mapped the Virginia wilderness. He had held the colony together, setting an example for those to follow. For without his leadership, the winter after he left became the starving time. And the greatest tribute to John Smith was written by one of the pitifully few survivors.
What shall I say? But that we lost him, that in all his proceedings made justice his first guide, experience his second, that upon no danger would send us where he wouldn't lead us himself, that would never see us want what he either had or could by any means get us, whose adventures were our lives, and whose loss our deaths.
Everybody's so catty. Just, it's really, a couple of those meetings with all those nobles, they are all so catty. It's like kind of like Real Housewives of 17 or 1600 England. All right, so behind me I have another film set up on the scanner. This was a film that was donated by someone. Jeff Watkins, is that his name? Yeah, I think that's right. I could be wrong. Anyways, this was made for the bicentennial, 1976. Enjoy.
Behind the scenes and out in front. Engineered products to increase industrial efficiency and increase output. Engineering and construction of modern steelmaking facilities for the leading industrial nations. Coppers, a part of your community with goods and services for the world.
Here once the embattled farmers stood and fired the shot heard round the world.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free.
And the star-spangled banner in triumph shall wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
That government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
And these honored dead shall not have died in vain. Concord, Massachusetts. The morning mist shrouds the countryside. The British are coming. The Minutemen wait. By that rude bridge that arched the flood, their flag to April's breeze unfurled, here once the embattled farmers stood and fired the shot heard round the world. The redcoats break ranks and retreat, leaving behind their dead, who came 3,000 miles and died to keep the past upon the throne.
call to freedom has been sent out, and thousands of colonial patriots will answer, marking not only a day on a calendar, but a turning point in the life of a continent. An old order dies on the 19th of April, 1775. But 15 months will pass before the representatives of the 13 colonies declare their independence. There are discussions, debates, sharp disagreements, as representatives North and South reconcile their regional differences. Here is born an ideal that Thomas Jefferson will call the spirit of '76. When at last agreement is reached, the delegates vote as one, defying the most powerful nation on earth and pledging to each other their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. The Declaration of Independence has been drafted by Thomas Jefferson with help from Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, Roger Sherman, Robert Livingston. John Hancock is first to sign the historic document that proclaims the rights of man to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. America's Declaration of Independence, writes John Adams to his beloved Abigail, should be commemorated as a day of deliverance and celebrated from one end of this continent to the other, from this time forward, forevermore. Fort McHenry, September 13th, 1814. Independence, won in the Revolution, must be defended in the War of 1812. The British have captured and burned Washington. Now Baltimore comes under attack. Major George Armistead is in command of Fort McHenry, which guards the river approach to the city. For 25 hours, Armistead and his garrison of 1,000 men are battered by a constant barrage of bombs, rockets, and shells. Francis Scott Key watches through the night. At dawn, Old Glory still flies, and he writes the words that capture the moment and become our national anthem. The American character also is being forged on the frontier. Nine out of 10 Americans live on farms, making their own clothes, growing their own food. Life is tough, dangerous, self-sufficient. Living History Farms near Des Moines, Iowa, recreate a time when the countryside is uncrowded and the West still waits to be won. There is a growing feeling of security and self-confidence, both as a people and a nation. The work is backbreaking, the hours long. But on the frontier, most every man is his own boss. With each shingle that is split and every new building that goes up, the pioneer farmers are laying the foundation for an industry that will flourish and grow until one day, America becomes the greatest agricultural country in the world. Here is woven the fabric of life in the United States in the first half of the 19th century. Many historians will call these years the best of American times. But there is a shadow over the country, and soon it will threaten the very existence and preservation of the Union. We cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men who fought and died here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. General Robert E. Lee, Seminary Ridge, Pickett's Charge, Gettysburg, July 1863, the decisive battle of the Civil War. For 3 days, the Pennsylvania countryside throbs and echoes to the shouts of men, the crack of muskets, the roar of cannon. When at last the guns fall silent and the fighting ends, Gettysburg becomes a final resting place for thousands of nameless men, North and South, who gave the last full measure of their devotion to the cause in which they believed. The Union is preserved. The nation lives to press on and move forward. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Ellis Island in New York Harbor is the gateway to America for many immigrants. In all, 42 million men, women, and children come to the United States, the greatest migration of people in world history. America offers much to her immigrants, and they give back much in return. Earning a living, raising a family, living with new neighbors, the immigrants are helping to build a nation. As the years go by, the imprint of the immigrants is found all across the United States. Here, writes Walt Whitman, is not merely a nation, but a teeming nation of nations. Not every newcomer finds the better life he seeks, but parents believe that their dreams can still come true in the lives of their children. across America, the immigrants bring their skills to farms and factories, rural areas and city centers. Out of the 19th century and into the 20th, the fruit of their labors is the greatest industrial society that the world has ever known. Wherever they live or work, many of the newcomers are victims of discrimination and prejudice. And yet their children become business leaders, professional men, lawmakers, presidents. And in 1917, they crossed the Atlantic to make the world safe for democracy. More than 2 million American doughboys journey over there to fight in the trenches and on the battlefields of Europe. Cheering crowds and martial music do not greet all who come home from the war to end all wars. The tomb of the unknowns in Arlington National Cemetery reminds Americans that freedom is not free. Hawaii, the paradise of the Pacific. On a Sunday morning in the 166th year of independence, the United States is plunged into the gravest crisis in its history. Beneath the USS Arizona Memorial, entombed in the sunken battleship, are more than 1,000 American servicemen who go down with their ship on that Sunday morning.
Yesterday, when I regret to tell you, with the inevitable triumph
people of Western Europe. A landing was made this morning on the coast of France by troops of the Allied Expeditionary Force. This landing is part of a concerted United Nations plan for the liberation of Europe. I call upon all who love freedom to stand with us now. Together we shall achieve victory.
The Japanese have accepted our terms fully. That's the word we've just received from the White House in Washington. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the Second World War.
July 1969, the flight of Apollo 11. America answers the challenge of President John Fitzgerald Kennedy.
I believe we should go to the moon. I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth.
And therefore, as we set sail, we ask God's blessing on the most hazardous and dangerous and greatest adventure on which man has ever embarked.
Lights on. 40 feet down, 2.5. Picking up some dust. 4 forward. 4 forward. Drift into the right a little. Contact light. Okay, engine stop. Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. I'm at the foot of the ladder. I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man. One giant leap for mankind.
From the shot heard round the world to Neil Armstrong's walk on the moon, America has been promises. Not all of these promises have been realized. Not all of our dreams have come true. There has been hope and heartbreak, peace and war, good times and bad. But as the United States passes out of its second and into its third century, the spirit of '76 still lives. And America continues to strive, to seek, to find, and to fulfill her promises and her destiny.
Screen News Digest has been brought.
Yeah, so ran out of leader. And then this came in handy. All right. Yeah, they played fast and loose with American history. Yeah, skipped over some pretty significant things that led to some of the things that they portrayed. But, you know, edited for time, I guess, was a deal. Thank you, Jeff Watson, for that film. He donated several films and supposedly it has another box coming my way, which is very exciting. You'd think I'd be sick of this by now. More than 30 years of collecting films. But every time a box shows up, it's like Christmas for me. I'm like, ooh, what is this? Ooh. Much to the chagrin, it's kind of like, dude, you have a closet full of toys, a whole basement full of toys, and yet you immediately turn to whatever the new shiny thing is. And in this case, it's usually rusty and dusty. But, ooh, what's this film? Ooh, what's this film? So I have to keep kind of going back and calling back to older films that I've gotten that I just haven't seen. So yeah. Thank you for tuning in today. Very much appreciate it. Thank you, Jeremy, for $5 via the Super Thanks button. When I was in the dark, you use it as a way to kind of beckon me out. And I gotta say, man, this iMac, I keep saying it, but this iMac is garbage. I'm gonna try to update the OS on it to see if I can get things to work better, but man, like, just really foul behavior on it. And if it doesn't work, then I'm probably gonna have to figure out a new way, another thing to do. In the meantime, if you like what you saw, hit the thumbs up, hit the like button. You can also go to ko-fi.com/avgeeks or patreon.com/avgeeks. Those are great ways to support us. And that money won't be spent on a new Mac, but it will be spent on storage units rentals, of which we have $1,200 at the moment that we're spending each month for 7 units. So your ways that you can help us, one way is to donate via the Super Thanks button or via the ways that I've mentioned here. But another way is I have a lot of stuff that's has been monetized, which means there's annoying ads. But I get paid little pennies, little trickles of pennies and nickels every time you watch them. So do me a favor and watch. If you like our stuff, watch some of our stuff. And encourage other people to watch some of our stuff, because that's a great way to support us. And it's completely advertising, and it's annoying, but it is a way that we're able to bring in some revenue and to cover this odd thing that we do that nobody really cares about beyond you folks who watch. And I appreciate you for that. Most big media doesn't care about what we have. There's a reason that they were destined for dumpsters and for landfills, because they don't care about it. And for some reason, we were there to intercept it, and we do care about it. So thank you for joining us and watching, and at least pretending like you care. That's what's important. But we'll be back again tomorrow, Thursday? Yes. And we'll watch some more film. It'll be great. Everybody take care. We love you guys. And as always, I hadn't said this for a while, please rewind and love each other. This was a magical thing we found inside of a can, one of the film cans, that was obviously written by someone who was bored. So, God bless them. All right, we will see you tomorrow. Everybody take care. Goodbye.